Hi, Coach Winehouse here again with part three of iForge with Coach Winehouse. We're going through the framework. And as you're going to see up here on the slide, um, this is a very ugly representation of what's going in a business plan. A business plan presentation that you are presenting to investors. So I'm, I have my own whole process on the pitch within the the plan itself, and I don't think I'm going to get to that quite yet. We're going to go through quite a bit more, but I am going to show you just these are the basic areas of the plan under topic that most everyone uses: your summary, your team, your product, your market opportunity, marketing plan, a sales plan, your operations, your financials, and the description of the investment. It's a good enough summary. We could take it from a book, the Ernst& Young book that a lot of people use. For talking about a plan, describes it. The Business Model Generation book that a lot of my mentors use in their classes. I believe Cliff Holocamp at WashU is one of my mentors. I believe he uses that. I believe Pipeline, the Kauffman funded Entrepreneurs Network in the Midwest, where I coach teams. I believe they use that, and they're a fantastic organization. There's a lot of books and information about the meat of what goes in the plan, and I'm steering away from that right now because what we're talking about right now is really an introduction to the entire process of the pitch and what it fits in, and that's what our framework is really meant to do. I tend to focus a lot more on the presentation part of the pitch in terms of how I can help you the most. Not because I don't think the business model generation cannot possibly be improved upon, because I'm sure that it can, and it certainly can for individual businesses, or certainly not if you've read the Ernst & Young book, that can't be improved upon, because that certainly can. But because I think it's very important to understand the conversation you're in with investors. So now we're going to go to what that conversation really is in our framework. So you can see the plan itself and the presenting of the plan fits in a much larger framework of a conversation. We talked about the PSP, which you see here. That's what generates the meeting. We have the presentation, and a lot of people very much are focusing on the presentation, as are we. You have your Q&A after you present. Sometimes that happens during the presentation, and that is more likely to happen than not, although we show it here as being separate. It has a different shape than the rest of the presentation, and we talked a little bit about that in our introduction to Q coding, and we're going to be talking more about Q coding within this framework. And finally, you've got your deal, and the deal is its own animal. We might talk about that in terms of a negotiation class, maybe even in terms of a venture class. We can talk about the terms of the deal, but we're going to keep that as its own world for now. Once we've gotten to that point, we're in a good position. What I tell entrepreneurs is, once you're at that point, you really have to understand who you're marrying, and if you can do a deal there. And a lot of that I can't help you with in your personal lives either. So when you think through the topics of your business plan, just understand it is part of a much larger framework. We've already talked about how it might work into the second P in the PSP of your paragraph, and that you might bullet point your the market size, your sales process. You might bullet point your and I don't mean process, I mean sales progress. The key members of your management team, and why it's a good investment. So a lot of the topics in the plan you will have already presented, at least at a high level, in the paragraph. The plan itself is, we're going to get to what it really is, but it's not the part on this slide that you think it is. I know it says topic, and it says presenting, and I know it says under the plan, but that's really not what the plan is. The plan is really, and we'll get to why, under the A for answers. We talked about it a little bit. We talked about that a little bit. We're going to talk about when we're presenting, what skills we're going to use to make sure we get to the full plan in our answers by eliciting the right questions. And that is part of what we're going to be doing when we do pitch skills. And I'll give you a little bit of a heads up with the VSS, which right now we're not going to address, but there will be things that we do when we're presenting that gets to the areas of the plan that we have crafted, whether using business model generation or an Ernst & Young framework, or a Guy Kawasaki framework. We are going to get to the full plan by saying certain things in our presentation, by eliciting the right questions, and getting to the answers. With that, I look forward to the second part of the second section of part 3 to go more through the business plan and presenting it. Thank you.